You know, I know there's a wide range of people in this room. I bet you some of you sitting here today have been in ACN less than 30 days. And I believe that some of you sitting in this room have been involved in ACN for many years. And experience will ultimately be your best teacher in this business. You can have people on stage teaching you what to say, telling you what to say, showing you what to do, but ultimately you have to go out and say it, and you have to go out and do it. And experience will ultimately be your best teacher. Now think about what I'm saying. Somebody can tell you how to say something, but when you actually go out and do it for the very first time, it's always uncomfortable. True? Right? Somebody can show you what to do, and then when you go out there and try it the very first time, it's always uncomfortable. So everything you do in this business in the very beginning will be uncomfortable. But as you take time and you practice and you practice and you practice, at some point it will become more than comfortable. It will become second nature. It will become so easy that people that are actually watching you succeed will think that you're gifted, and they'll compliment you. And they'll even say, you know, you're just a natural at the business. But nobody was there when it was uncomfortable. Nobody was watching you go through that transition. And I say this because I believe the number one reason why people fail in any business is because they simply don't even try because of fear. You know, they let their fear guide their decision making versus their desire to succeed. And your desire to succeed has to be greater, and the motion to succeed has to be stronger than the fear of failure. You have to always focus on that goal. And the reason I'm saying this to you is because I've been very fortunate in my life. I feel very lucky. I feel that I'm very happy because I was introduced to this industry at a very young age. So I was 24 years old when I first got involved in this industry. And I had really good teachers, and I had really good people around me always motivating me and saying, Mike, you got to keep pushing forward. But I was young enough where I made a lot of mistakes, and believe me when I say I made a lot of mistakes, and I had a lot of fear, but I was in the industry long enough where things started turning around, and my fear became confidence, and my lessons and mistakes, you know, became good experience. So over a period of time, I was able to transform from being afraid and being inexperienced and making mistakes to one day I was successful in the industry. And I actually experienced that transition. And once you go through that experience, you look back and you realize that anybody can do it. You know that in your heart, that anybody can do it. Once you actually accomplish that, you know that anybody can do it. But you also understand, and you also can relate to how other people are still afraid and how other people are just getting started. For example, I look at this auditorium and look around the room. Look at how many people are sitting in here. Okay? Look at all the people. I remember when I was sitting in an audience like this, and I remember when I was just sitting in the room and I had no success and no experience, and I remember looking around the room and seeing all the people, and I said to myself, is it really possible for me to be successful? I mean, is it really possible? And I would sit in the audience and I would allow myself to get lost in the crowd. And what I meant by that is I would allow myself to feel like I was insignificant, like I couldn't be one of the people that was actually on stage. And I remember how that felt, sitting in the audience, wondering in my mind if I could ever be somebody that would walk the stage and be successful. And I remember that there was doubt in my mind, and I know what it feels like to have that doubt. I know what it feels like to have that fear, to wonder if it's ever possible. But I realized something, that no one in this room will ever transition from that point to this point overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes little steps, little successes, but all those little successes will start to add up. So don't worry about going from the very beginning in your very first month and trying to be on stage in 30 days. That doesn't happen. But always set goals. This is the key, I'm telling you. The key to success is having a long-term goal and having a short-term goal. Now, you know where you want to be long-term for business. You want to be a senior vice president. That's where you want to be long-term. That's your long-term goal. But you have to have a short-term goal in business. And I'm going to keep it real simple for you. Real simple. What is your short-term goal today? Now, every one of you have a different short-term goal, but I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay? Look at the position you have right now with ACN. What is it? Just think about it in your mind. If you're sitting in this room and you are a team trainer, what is the next position? Executive team trainer. So what is your short-term goal for business if you are a team trainer? And the answer is executive team trainer. What does it take to become an executive team trainer? You need to write that down, you need to understand it, and you need to make sure that you do everything every day to fulfill that goal. But when you become an executive team trainer, which some of you in this room are, okay, what is your goal, short term? To become an executive team leader. Now, I'm using simple language here because I want you to understand that every one of you have the next position to earn. If you're an executive team leader, then you earn the next position all the way up to senior vice president. But the entire marketing plan for ACN, the entire compensation plan is laid out. The blueprint is there. But you have to have the desire to succeed, and you've got to hit the goals. You've got to take the next step. You've got to push yourself. You've got to be self-motivated. That's what leaders are, self-motivated people. And how you do that is by doing the activities that make you a leader. How many of you in the room would love to be a senior vice president? Raise your hand. Okay? So we know that that's what you want. The feeling of wanting it is there. But here's a difference. When you feel like you need to be there, that's a totally different feeling. When you need it, okay? Wanting it is one feeling, but needing it is another feeling. So if you can transform your thinking from wanting to needing, it's a have to. You got to change the way you think. Don't think, oh, I want to be successful. I want to be financially independent. You know, I want to be a senior vice president. No, you have to change your thinking. And how you transform your thinking is you've got to say, I need to be successful, I need to be financially independent, and I need to be a senior vice president. So here's the difference. You've got to justify why you need to change your thinking. You have to justify it. Because you're not really going to change your want into a need unless you justify it in your brain. And here's how I did it. And I'm going to tell you one of the secrets of success. Okay? If you want to be successful in any business, ACN or outside of ACN, in every successful organization, there is a leader. Okay? A leader is someone who does it first. A leader is someone who sets the example. A leader is somebody that proves the business model works. That's what a leader is. A leader is the one that does it first. They validate that something works. Now, when you go back to the city that you live in, when you go back to the country that you live in, there's going to be people there that you're going to talk to about ACN. There's already people there that are part of organizations or part of teams that you already started. Do you know what those people need? Those people need to witness somebody succeed within the city that they live. They need to witness a successful person in the market that they live. Not someone they hear about reading a magazine, hear on a conference call, or see on a video. All of that is good. That's great, actually. But it's not good enough because people need to feel like it's real. They need to believe in their hearts that it can be done. And the only way that they'll get to that level is when they see someone or witness someone in their own city, someone that they can meet and shake their hands, someone in their own city become successful then they now know that they can do it too. And this is where I transform my thinking. This is where I changed how I think forever, and it changed my business forever. I realized that if I wanted my team to be successful, then I had to prove that it worked first, that I had to be successful. For example, if I'm living in a city and I want other people to become executive team trainers, well, guess what? I have to become the first executive team trainer. I have to do it because I have to prove it. I have to prove that it works. Because if I do it, the people that I'm working with, they'll now believe that they can do it too. They can only do what I do first. And that's what a leader knows. If I want other people in my city to go to the level of executive team leader, then guess what I have to do? I've got to go to executive team leader, and I have to do it first. Same with team coordinator, same with regional director, regional vice president, senior vice president. If I was living in a city, I would say to myself, I need to do it first, because if I don't do it first, then nobody else will do it. That's how a leader thinks. And that's how I changed my thinking from wanting to be successful versus needing to be successful. Because I looked at it from a point of view that if I wasn't doing it first, then I was teaching people how to fail. So I would do it first so I could teach people how to succeed. I wanted to be an example for people. That's what you have to learn. That when you go back to the city that you live in, a true leader understands that you have to be the example, because the example is more than just doing it first. It's basically proving the system. If you don't go back to the city that you work and take that attitude to lead and to do things first, then you're going to teach people to fail. You're going to teach people not to succeed. And to me, that was a huge responsibility. When I finally understood that, when I finally understood that everything that I do and that everything that I say and all my successes or failures, everything that I do will ultimately be duplicated through the area, through all the people that I work with, that's when I changed my thinking. From that point forward, I never wanted success again. I never wanted money again, and I never wanted to be the top of any company. I didn't want it. I now needed it. I needed to make it happen. It was a must, 100%. I needed to go to the top. I needed to be successful. I needed to get more people to a meeting than anyone else. I needed to have more customers than anyone else. I needed to make more money than anyone else. I needed to earn the highest positions than anyone else. Whenever I went to a convention, I needed to have more people in the convention than anyone else. I wanted to outproduce everybody, not because I was trying to be better than anybody, but I realized that a leader sets the pace. If I'm slow, my team is slow. If I'm fast, my team is fast. If I make a lot of money, my team is making a lot of money. If I make no money, my team is making no money. So does this make sense what I'm telling all of you? Leadership is about setting the example. Leadership is about leading. Leadership is about doing it first. What's difficult is feeling good and getting out there and making things happen. That's hard. Going out there and talking to people. Having people tell you that you are a fool for being involved in a business like this. Having people tell you no, they don't want to become your customer. You know, having people tell you that they're not interested in taking advantage of your opportunity. Believe me when I tell you, that never feels good. That never feels good to be rejected. Failure does not feel good, but believe me, everyone must go through it. Everyone must have those feelings. Everyone must have someone say no, because in our business, this is nothing more than a numbers game. If you stay in the business long enough and you talk to enough people, you will talk to the right people. The right people will get involved. And guess what? Your organization will start to grow. Why? Because you are consistent. That's the key. You want to be consistent. Now, is it okay if I talk to all of you as though I sponsored you directly? Is it okay if I talk to you like that right now? I want to talk to you as though I'm your upline and that I sponsored you directly, because I want to have a real, honest conversation with you. I want to tell you directly what you need to do if you want to be successful in this business. But before I tell you that, I want you to understand that everyone starts off and does things wrong. Okay, so you have to understand that first, that nobody in this room is going to be successful from the very beginning. We have to make mistakes. Matter of fact, I'll give you an example of a mistake I made. This is just an example. When my twin brother Tony and I got started, we were working together. We were 24 years old. And I don't know why, but for some reason, Tony was not afraid to public speak. I don't know why. He from the very first day, he was getting in front of people and he was doing meetings, whether it was 5 people, 10 people, or 30 people. He had no problem. He was fine with it. He had confidence more than me. But I was afraid to public speak. I mean, I was absolutely afraid to get in front of people. But I didn't want nobody to know. I was trying to keep it a secret. So even Tony didn't know. You know, Tony would approach me and say, "Do you want to do the next meeting?" I said, "Oh, no, you keep doing it. I'll do the one-on-ones, and you do all the big meetings," you know? And I kind of divided up our work that way. I said, "You do all the big meetings, and I'll do all the one-on-ones." But I didn't tell the truth. The truth was I was afraid to speak in front of groups of people. And then one day we were at a training, and it was on a Saturday. We used to do these small trainings in the morning, and then in the afternoon we would have these little sessions. They weren't even trainings. I mean, all you were telling people to do was 4 things. You were telling them to basically get started, make a list of their warm market, so make a list of people they know. You know, the third one was go to another training, and I think the 4th one was just be motivated. It was 4 simple things you had to say. It was nothing. There was about 40 people in the room, and Tony came up to me and said, "Mike, I have to go." Like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Listen, I did everything today. Just go do the last 4 things, those 4 little bullet points, and then I'll see you tomorrow." And I go, "Yeah, no problem. I'll do it." But what he didn't know was I started panicking. Like, my heart started racing. It got to the point where, like, I didn't even know what was going on with me physically because my adrenaline in my body was pumping so much that I couldn't even control certain, like, body movements. My knees started shaking, and I remember thinking to myself, I couldn't control my legs. I'm going, okay. I couldn't stop my legs from shaking, you know, because I was so nervous about being in front of the room. I'm going, calm down. And I walked into the bathroom, and I was looking in the mirror, talking to myself, going, calm down. You know, you can do this. It's just like any one-on-one presentation. You can do this. And I was talking to myself, trying to calm down. But I couldn't calm down. So finally they go, "Mike, you have to go do the meeting now." So I go, and the reason why I had even more pressure is because imagine having a twin brother. Imagine having a twin, and your twin was really good at something, and nobody knew it. Everybody thought you were as good as the twin because you were twins. They didn't know that you were going to be bad. So now they invite me, and I'm in front of the room, and I'll never forget it. I stood in front of the room, and I tried to talk, but I couldn't talk. I tried to get the words out, and people were in the audience looking at me like this. And I knew that when they were looking at me, I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm thinking, I had like an out-of-body experience. I was like looking at myself standing there, and I was going, I can't seem to say anything. I mean, I was like almost having the weirdest thing. I went silent, and then all of a sudden when I realized I couldn't talk, all this blood started rushing to my face. Okay, my face got really red. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you before. I could feel it. My ears were red. My face was red. And I started hearing this ringing in my ears, you know, because I was actually about to pass out. I didn't know I'm going, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out. Now imagine how embarrassing that is. I couldn't talk. I couldn't control my knees. I was shaking. I knew my face was red. Blood was rushing in my face, and I was about to pass out, all at the same time. And then I looked in the audience, and everybody in the audience was looking at me like this. And that's when I knew I was in some trouble. And one of my friends was in the back of the room, and they were watching me. And I remember he had papers in his hands, and he kind of walked like this, and he looked at me and goes, and then he threw the papers down, and he came to save me. He came in front of the room, and he kind of took my stuff from me, and he goes, I got it, Mike, I got it. And I remember walking away like this, Humiliated, okay? Humiliated. Walk into the back of the room, and at the time my girlfriend was standing there, and I looked at her, and she couldn't even look me in the eye. She was so embarrassed for me. Can you imagine that? She was so embarrassed, she could not even look me in the eye. And that was so humiliating. I mean, that was the worst day of my network marketing life because I couldn't even say one word. Imagine that, how embarrassing that is. So I know what it's like to be humiliated. I know what it's like to actually be in a position where you look like the biggest failure and you feel like quitting. I know exactly what that feels like. But I also remember that I look back now and I laugh at that. It's actually funny to me when I think about it because all the bad things that happened to you today, when you look back at it one day, they're all going to be funny. So you'll get with your friends and you'll get with the other leaders and you'll say, remember this time when I failed here or I failed there, and you guys will get together and you'll actually find it comical. You'll start laughing about all these failures that you had. But understand that we all have the same failures. We all go through the same things. Now, the reason I wanted to say that is because everything that I tell you from this point forward, it just simply won't matter if you're not willing to go through the failures of the business. If you're not willing to be humiliated once in a while, then everything else I tell you simply won't matter. You know, I'll give you one more example. If my brother Tony was standing here on stage, and I'm standing next to him, and let's say we're on a beach, and we don't know how to swim, and we want you to teach us how to swim in the water. Okay, so I'm standing here, my twin brother Tony's standing, there he is right there, my twin brother. He's a little bigger than me. So my brother's here, I'm here, and we want to learn how to swim. Now, if Tony jumped in the water and was splashing around and said, come on in, I'm ready, I want you to show me how to do this. And I was on the beach with a pen and a pad of paper, and I said, well, before I go in the water, I want you to make it make sense right here first. I want you to explain everything to me, tell me what I'm supposed to do, how do I move my arms, how do I kick my legs. I want it to make sense on paper, and when it makes sense here, then I'll go in the water, okay? That's when you get me in the water. Now, my question to you is, who would you rather work with, Tony or me? Tony. Why? Because he's willing to jump in. That's why you want to work with Tony. I'm sitting on the sidelines, I'm sitting on the beach trying to figure it out. I'm not doing anything, okay? So here's the question you have to ask yourself. Ask yourself this question. Who are you in ACN? Who are you in ACN? Are you the one that is always sitting back, trying to make sure that everything makes sense, that you figure it out first, or are you the person that's willing to jump in? Who are you? Because your upline leaders are looking at you, and they have to choose who to work with. And let me tell you a secret. Your upline leaders work with the people who jump in. They don't work with the people who are always sitting on the side trying to figure it out. You have to jump in. So what does that mean, jump in? That means you go to a training, you learn how to get customers, and guess what you do? The next day, you go get customers. Even if you failed, it doesn't matter. Go get customers. Go try. Practice. 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 Jump in. Because if you're not trying to swim by jumping in the water, then you'll always be on the beach trying to figure it out. And the ACN is the same way. If you don't jump in every area, jump in, then you will never learn. So I'm telling you, when you go back to your cities, that's the attitude you have to have. That's the attitude that you have to display to the people you're working with. You know, when I would sponsor a new rep, I used to choose who I would work with, not by what they said, but I would watch what they do. Because I never worked with the talkers. Everybody was a talker. 9 out of 10 people are talkers. They talk, they talk, they talk. They tell you everything you want to hear. I'm not interested in talk. I'm only interested in what people do. And how I used to measure who I would work with was by not the big things they did, was by the little things they did. If somebody told me that they were going to show up to a meeting on Saturday and they were going to bring one person, I'd write that down. And when Saturday came, I would look at what they promised. Well, they said they'd be here on Saturday, and they said they would bring one guest. Are they here? Ah, there they are. And you know what? They got 2 guests. Now, if they overperformed what they said to me, I used to put like a star next to their name. I go, that could be a leader. That could be a winner because they delivered on their words. Now I would approach them and I'd say, what are you going to do next? Well, I would like you to come over to my house, Mike, because I'm going to invite 15 people over. Would you do a presentation? You got it. I'd write it down. 15 people is what they said they would have. I show up to their home. I don't care if they had 10 people. They delivered. They had a meeting set up and they had people there. Does that make sense? Watch what people do. If they deliver, guess what? That's my leader. I work with the people who deliver. I would never work with the talkers because in the same scenario, how many times have you ever had somebody say that they would show up to a meeting and then the meeting comes around and they don't show up, right? Or so they tell you that they're going to invite somebody to a presentation, but they never invite that person to a presentation. See, I used to give people 3 chances. 3 chances. I called it 3 strikes because of baseball. 3 strikes and you're out. So in my mind, if you told me you were going to do something once, I'll let it go. You told me twice, okay, I'm going to dismiss this as maybe you're just inexperienced. But by the 3rd time, if you tell me you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're done. I never would work with that person again. I would just simply say, go to the meetings, I'll see you there. But I wouldn't give my personal time anymore to people who don't deliver. So the question is who are you in this business? Are you a talker or do you deliver? Are you a talker or do you deliver? Because if you want to go to the top in ACN, you have to have the habit of delivering. Always deliver. Don't ever promise anything you can't deliver. Go out there and make it happen. Be the person that jumps in. Don't be afraid. Can you guys do this? Okay, now with that being said, I want to tell you as an upline, we're not done yet, but thank you. I want to tell you what I would tell anybody I sponsored because I learned this when I first got started in my career, and I learned this from someone who was very successful. I learned this from someone who by the age of 38 years old had made well over 40 million US dollars as a representative in a network marketing company. So I felt that what they were teaching was accurate because they were documented. They had the evidence to prove that what they were saying was true. I learned a lot of stuff from this person. This person was my mentor, and this is what he taught me. He says, Mike, he goes, there is something you're going to learn in our business, and it's called Phase 1. Now, I know you heard about Phase 1. I know that you guys will always hear about Phase 1, but I want to just talk about it because, to me, it was the most important thing that I learned in this industry. He says, Mike, Phase 1 means that you are taking full responsibility with the future of your business. That's what Phase 1 means. You're taking full responsibility. You're not depending on anybody for your success. So you've got to know what the word Phase 1 actually means. It means that you're always recruiting, presenting, and acquiring customers in your open line. Okay, what does open line mean? I hope you guys know this. Open line. All that simply means is whatever position you are at, whether it's an ETT or an ETL or a team coordinator or higher, that means you've got activity, you've got recruiting, you've got customer acquisition going on every month in your business, but not under someone who is at the same level as you. So for example, if I'm a team coordinator, it doesn't matter how many team coordinators I have on my team. I could have 10. I could have all of them in one leg, in one line. But if I'm a team coordinator, the real question is how much business am I developing every month outside of my team coordinators, not under my team coordinators. That's called team coordinator open line. Okay, every month, that's where you need to be putting 50% of your time. And I learned this from someone who was very successful. Says, Mike, don't ever abandon your existing team. I don't care how many people are on your team. It says never abandon your team. You want to dedicate 50% of your time to your existing group all the time. You've got a team of people that are just like you. They're successful. They're growing. Give 50% of your time to your existing group. The other half of your time has to be for your open line. Now think about what I'm saying. Now, a lot of people say, well, I can't work on my open line because I just don't have any time. You know why you don't have any time? Because you're dedicating 100% of your time to your existing group. I'm not telling you to stop working with that team. I'm just saying divide your time. 50% of your time should be with your existing team. The other 50% of your time should be in developing your open line. Never let a single month go by without developing your open line. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you the number one reason why people stop building in their open line. The number one reason is because it's harder. That's why. It's easier to work with your existing team. Now, I remember this. I used to go to meetings. My brother remembers this too. We would walk into meetings. We were the leaders in our area. We got recognition. You know, we were making money. We were at the higher levels. And we used to walk into rooms, and people used to, they would clap. They'd want to take pictures with us. They'd say, oh, those are the leaders in the area. And it always felt good walking into those rooms. It felt good. We'd walk in. We were edified. You know, people were telling everybody how great we were, and it felt good. I mean, how could you not feel good walking into a room where everybody was making you feel good? Because you were the leader. You were successful. Well, the biggest problem is it feels so good that some people never want to work with anybody else. They'd rather keep working with that team because it feels good. They're edified. They're built up. Okay? Now, guess what? No matter how successful you are, you could be a senior vice president on stage today. You could have been one of the trainers that you saw on stage today, but those people have to go out and recruit new people too. Now imagine Dominique Canal-Flores. Imagine Dominique going out tomorrow in France. He decides to pull up in a cafe. He's getting a sandwich, and he sees somebody that he wants to recruit. Okay? Do you believe that he's going to have an easier time recruiting that person than you would? And the answer is no. It's going to be just as difficult for him to recruit a new person as it would be for you to recruit a new person. Why? Because a new person doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about ACN, doesn't know anything about this word called senior vice president, doesn't know anything about edification. All they know is they're being recruited. So whether you are a senior vice president or you are a team trainer, when you are recruiting, guess what? The playing field is exactly the same. It doesn't matter who you are. It's the same. So what we find is that it's easier to work with your existing team because when you walk in the room, you're edified and everybody makes you feel good. So that's where it's fun to work. It's easy to work there. But when you got to go deal with somebody that you're bringing on for the very first time, they're going to ask you all the same questions like, well, why should I do this? You know, I heard about this kind of stuff before, you know, and here you are thinking, I can't believe you're saying that. I mean, do you know who I am? I am a senior vice president. And they're looking at you, yeah, so what? It doesn't matter to them because what does a senior vice president mean to them? It means nothing. So it doesn't feel as good when you're working in your open line because you got to start from scratch. You got to build new people. You got to go through all the same stuff that everyone else has to go through. So that's the number one reason why people get out of phase one. And what happens when you get out of phase one? You fall into a mode which we call management. You know what managing role is? Managing means that instead of you doing phase one activity, you're telling everybody else to do it. You're telling everybody else what to do. You're telling everybody else to go recruit. You're telling everybody else to get customers. You're managing. You know what happens when you manage? Your people are watching you. They duplicate. They start to manage. Then you fall into the next role, which is called overseeing. You know what an overseer is? Now you're kind of one person. Now you're overseeing your managers tell their people to get customers. You're overseeing your managers tell their people to get recruits. But guess what happens? Their people stop recruiting, and they stop getting customers because their upline is managing, so that must be what they're supposed to do. So they start managing, which pushes the people above them to being overseers. You know what you are? You are now an overseer of overseers. That's what you've become. So now you're not doing any recruiting. Your first level is not doing any recruiting. The people below them aren't doing any recruiting, and that duplicates through your entire team. If you get out of phase one, your entire team will get out of phase one. So ask yourself this question every 30 days. Ask yourself, if my team does what I have done over the last 30 days, how successful will I be? If my team has done what I have done over the last 30 days, how successful will I be? And that's the best way to measure whether you are a manager or you are producing in your open line. And that's what I would tell anybody that I sponsored. I would say if there was ever a secret, to the success in network marketing, I would tell you that is the secret. The secret to success is being consistent, staying in phase one every single month. Never letting a month go by where you're not working in your open line. Never let a month go by where you fall into management mode. That is the secret to the business. If you look at anyone who's ever done well in our industry, it's because they've never got out of phase one. They're always focused on developing new lines. They're always developed on working and building new organizations. They're never satisfied being a manager. Now, I'll tell you the exact opposite. Now, we all know these people. How many people do you know in some of the cities that you work? They're always on stage. They're the most important people in the meeting room. They want to make sure you know that they're the most important person. They'll wear the pin, right? They want to do all the meetings. But at the same time, you wonder why you never see them on the production reports. You never seem to notice them cross the stage when they're going through all the recognition. We never notice their names in the newsletters. I wonder, but yet when they're the same people that want to run all the meetings. Okay, those are managers, guys. Those are the people that have fallen out of phase one and they're in the management mode. Phase one to me is about real estate. How many of you in the room have ever been in real estate business, sold a home, if you've been in real estate? Now, I don't know if they say the same thing in Europe as they say in America, but there's a saying in America, it's called location, location, location. And what that simply means is if you have a property or a home that you're selling, and if it's in the right location, you're going to make money. If it's in a bad location, you're going to make no money. So they say location, location, location. Well, I look at network marketing like real estate. That's how I look at it. Now, I'm giving you my secrets of how I used to think, and if you think this way, you'll be surprised at how much success you'll gain. I used to look at it this way. I used to look at the weekly meeting, the Saturday training, the regionals or national events in the area, or these international conventions. I used to look at this like real estate. And to me, the person that has the most real estate will be the most successful. So what does real estate mean in network marketing? What it means is those chairs right there. See, I see an empty chair right in the first row, empty. You know what that is to me? That's a piece of real estate, and I want that real estate. Now, I can have 1% of the room where I own the real estate, where I got 1%, all the people are on my team, but I want you to imagine something. Imagine you sitting here today. Imagine this. Imagine you owning 50% of the real estate in this convention center right now. Imagine that. Imagine you're sitting here today, you're sitting down, relaxed, you're enjoying the training, and you're looking around saying to yourself, 50% of this room is in my team. The question I have is, how would you feel if you owned 50% of the real estate here? How would you feel? Would you feel good? Okay. See, that's what I love about the business, because I always looked at the seats like real estate. I never looked at the seats like anything else. I never cared about being the guy who was in front of the room. Managers were the ones that stopped recruiting, which means they left open seats in the room. So while they were busy being important, okay, they're busy with their pin, they're busy perfecting their speech. I mean, they're at home every night looking in the mirror, perfecting how they're going to say things so they look good at the next meeting. They want to impress you with how smart they are. I love these people. I love them. While they're practicing their speech, I am getting all the real estate. I'm out there doing all my meetings, inviting people to the presentations. I'm filling the room. Now, one day, they're up there doing the meeting, and they're looking around the room, and I'm just sitting in the audience, all quiet, smiling, clapping. You're the best. Keep going. There's nobody better than this person right there. Was that a good speech or what? And I'd be clapping, feeling good, but I was filling the real estate. I was filling the room. And sooner or later, there's 100 people in the room, and guess what? They're all on my team. Now, they're working, but they don't have any new people. And they wonder why the convention shows up. They show up. They're not on stage. But all of a sudden, they go, Mike Kupis. Oh, I got a pen. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Wow, okay. I do my little speech. Thank you. It was very much. And they're sitting in the audience going, what's going on? I'm doing all the meetings. I'm working hard. I'm working harder than him. How's he up there and I'm sitting in the audience? And the simple answer is because I'm in phase 1 and you are a manager. And as long as you're a manager, you'll get paid a manager's pay. And as an entrepreneurial open line producer, I'm going to get paid an entrepreneur's pay. So I'm telling you guys, that is what you've got to focus on. Now, on the flip side, I want to just be fair with you. I want to be very fair. I want to tell you that everybody will fall into management mode. Every one of us will fall into I do, you do, we all will fall into it. It's not falling into management mode which is the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is recognizing it. Okay, if you can't recognize that you're in the management mode, then if you don't know you're doing it, then you're going to continue doing it. If you don't know that you're not in phase 1, then you're going to continue to stay out of phase 1. There are so many people that I talk to that I can see that they're managing, and I try to tell them, I say, man, you're not in phase 1. How many people have you recruited in the last 90 days? Tell me. Tell me how many people that you helped get started in the business from a line that you recruited. Tell me those numbers. And they still don't get it. They go, well, I haven't really recruited anybody since February. February was the last time I got that person in, and, well, it didn't really work out. I go, really? Okay. The last time you recruited somebody is February, and you don't recognize that you're a manager? You don't recognize that you're not in phase 1? You don't recognize, oh, but I'm busy. I'm busy. Well, busy doing what? Well, my people are always calling me. My downline, they want me to do meetings for them. Okay, continue. I mean, that's why. I mean, that's the important thing I've got to do. Right? Focus on my team. Yes, 50% of your time. 50% of your time you've got to dedicate to your existing team. But the other half of your time, you've got to be in phase 1. That's what I used to teach my people. I would pound that into their brain so that every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, they could simply look back and ask themselves, are they in phase 1 or are they in management mode? And if you're not doing phase 1, then you are a manager. And managers lead to overseers. Overseers leads to overseeing overseers, which leads to the last phase, which is the bad phase, phase out of business. Phase, I'm no longer in ACN. Phase, I have to go get a job. Why? Because I'm not making any money. That's where you know that you've been managing way too long. And eventually, if you stop working in phase 1, eventually you'll phase yourself right out of ACN. So does everybody understand what phase 1 means? Okay, now here's 3 things you gotta do. It's the last thing I'm gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna wind up today's training. 3 things you've got to practice. Now, I know that some of you are new, or maybe in ACN less than 30 days, and you're simply not comfortable yet with these 3 things, and that's okay. But I still want you to do it anyways. I want you to get out there and just try, practice. The first thing I want you to learn how to do is an ACN presentation. Learn how to explain ACN. Okay, get with your upline, learn how to explain it. Because I would always tell my people, I was very honest, I'm very upfront. I want to tell my people, you've got to be independent. If you need somebody else to explain ACN for you, then you are not independent. You are dependent. Okay? If you need somebody to explain ACN 30 days from today, then on your rep agreement, it should not say independent representative. It should say dependent representative. That's what you should have signed. You've got to learn how to explain ACN. Learn how to explain it. That's called a presentation. But learn how to explain it quickly. Don't get overly detailed. Learn how to present it in 20 minutes or less. That's what a presentation is. It's a simple explanation. It's designed to be short. It's designed to be brief. That's the first thing I want you to do. And I want you to practice. I want you to practice, and I want you to practice. Here's how you know you are effective at a presentation. Okay, here's how you know, because this is what you're looking for. When you're done explaining it, the person you're talking to, you just want to make sure that they're 51% interested. Hear what I'm saying? Successful presentations don't mean that everyone you explain ACN to signs up. That's not what successful presentations mean. Successful presentation means that when you're done talking, you opened up their mind. And they go from curious to, wow, I'm interested. You just want somebody leaning forward with interest. If you get somebody curious, if you get somebody interested, you've done your job. That's all a presentation is for. Okay? The second thing I want you to get good at is trainings. I want you to learn how to do trainings. Now, if you need your upline to do a training for you, this means you're dependent. If you're dependent, then you should not have independent representative on your agreement. That's the second thing you've got to learn to do on your own. Learn how to do training. So here's the key. People always ask me, well, what training am I supposed to know how to do? Here's what you need to do. Learn how to teach somebody to become an ETT. That's it. Teach somebody how to become an ETT. If you're really good, you'll teach them how to become an ETL. If you can teach somebody to become an ETL, consider yourself a master in network marketing. You are a master. Because what if everybody on your team, everybody, all they ever did was go ETL? Every person that joined your business became an ETL. What would that do to your business? What would that do to your people's business? What would it do to their business? If everybody becomes an ETL, guess what? People start breaking RD, TC, RVP, SVP. Why? Because if everybody becomes a executive team leader, it's going to push up all the people in the compensation plan. So master the ability to teach people to become an executive team leader or an executive team trainer. And by the way, how many of you think it's pretty fair to say it's simple to explain to someone how to become an ETT? It's simple. That's the attitude you got to have. Say, I'm going to explain to you how to become an ETT. It's simple, and you explain it. It's simple to become an ETL. Explain it. Now, how do you know whether you're successful at your trainings? Is when you watch people succeed. The last thing I want you to be good at, if you want to become a successful leader, is promoting events. This is the last thing you've got to be successful at, which means promoting events, to me, is the most important thing in ACN. Now, it's probably one of the most overlooked things that we do, but it's probably the most important thing you can learn if you want to become a senior vice president. Because you remember earlier I was talking about real estate? The person in the room that has the most real estate will actually be the most successful person in the room. Well, how do you get real estate? How do you get seats filled if you're not promoting? Okay? How do you get seats filled if you're not building value for an event? Okay? If you don't promote for the events, if you don't promote for the meetings, then you're not going to fill any seats. If you don't fill any seats, then guess what? You don't have any real estate. If you don't have any real estate, you're not successful. Master the art of promoting events. As a matter of fact, I will tell you this, and I believe this in my heart. My twin brother does too. We believe that if promoting events was the only thing you were good at, if promoting events was the only thing that you mastered as a leader in ACN, if that was the only thing, then you'd become a massive success in our industry. Why? Because you'd be filling up these seats and let the system work for you instead of you working for the system. Promoting events. So what's an event? Every time there's a meeting in your area, you get more people to that meeting than anybody else. If there's a conference call, you promote the conference call. If there's a Saturday training, you promote the Saturday training. If there's a national meeting or regional meeting in your area, you promote, you promote, you promote, you promote. And how do you promote? You promote the speakers. You edify the trainers. You tell people the importance. You build value. You tell people they have to be there. You fill the seats. You get the real estate. You get the people in the room, and guess what? Everything goes from there. You fill the rooms, you promote the events, and your business will start to build. The momentum will take off. Can you guys do those three things? Okay, you master those. Now, my job here today is not to teach you how to do those things. I'm telling you that you've got to learn how to do those things. And how are you going to learn? You jump in the water. You jump in. Don't worry about what to say. Don't worry about how you're going to do it. You jump in. Are you afraid to do a presentation? Yes, you're afraid. Why? Because I was afraid. My brother stuck me in front of the room, and I nearly passed out and got humiliated. So what? I never imagined then that I'd be talking to 10,000 people in Cologne, Germany. I never could visualize that I could go from that to this. I never saw that in my mind. Okay? Believe me. So, but knowing that in my heart, okay? Knowing that in my heart, that I look back knowing that if I did what I did, and I'm here talking to you guys, trust me when I say every one of you can do it too. You just have to be willing to jump in. I appreciate the opportunity. I want to take a little bit of time this morning to give you some training from the co-founders, because I know a lot of people have asked us to do this. So I want to just take a little time and share some of my thoughts with you, and just if there's anything I can do as far as helping you guys think at a higher level. So I hope what I gave you helped, and I hope that I'm giving you something to think about, because we would love nothing more than to see all of you guys become successful in ACN. So thank you very much.